In Death, Trust and Tradition, composer says identity politics not the answer to classical music's woes. The challenges facing classical music institutions worldwide have been well publicized. Declining audiences and tightening revenue streams are a constant in the industry, only exacerbated during the pandemic years. Many large-scale performing arts groups cannot survive purely off ticket sales and rely on government handouts, grants, and philanthropy to prop up their finances, one young composer says. These challenges are one reason why CEOs and musical directors chase the latest popular trends and tailwinds. Ordinary artists who normally would not engage in any of these debates have become quite frustrated and alienated, particularly from the upper echelons of the industry. Alexander Volz, 23, tells the Epoch Times, "The people who sit on the boards and the artistic directors seem to have one particular vision that I don't think is necessarily shared by all artists." He adds. Volz's works have been performed by the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, Opera Queensland, and the Australian Youth Orchestra. He most recently served as the composer-in-residence at the Camerata, Queensland Chamber Orchestra, and was a recipient of the Australian Broadcasting Corporation's Composer Commissioning Fund. The Brisbane-based composer points to the Albanese Labor government's latest arts funding package, the $286 million, $192 million US, Revive, which places Aboriginal Australian heritage at its core. Revive is built on 5 pillars but puts First Nations, Indigenous people, first, recognizing and respecting the crucial place of these stories at the heart of our arts and culture, the government said in January. Identity and increasingly lucrative business. Volz is concerned by the new government approach and says it has risks. Identity has usurped craft as the primary quality of artwork, if that makes sense, he said. The creator is now more important than what's created, which is totally paradoxical, because without what is created, the creator doesn't exist. He is calling for a return to the technical artistry behind writing musical composition, warning that the pedigree of Australian work is already suffering. "We see very pedestrian compositions being written in response to large commissions for senior institutions and orchestras in this country. One wonders why these composers were selected to write these pieces." Volz says some of the music that receives its performances in very senior venues under the baton of very senior conductors and played by very senior musicians. I mean, it could have been written in high school. The price tags attached to these things. Some of the money that these composers are making is absolutely outrageous. Volz does add that other factors have contributed to the struggles of classical music groups, including declining education around the importance of tradition, social media, and shrinking attention spans, as well as a heavy reliance by musicians on state support. Audiences careful around newer composition. Festival organizer Greg Lindsay, who runs the Craven Creek Music Festival in regional New South Wales, says the zeitgeist has changed and identity politics has crept into modern composition. "I want the best musicians to play or write the best music. I don't care what it is and who they are," he tells the Epoch Times. He says orchestra heads may pursue the latest trends because it is sometimes the easiest way to attract audiences and pay the bills. As for the Craven Creek Festival, a boutique event that regularly sells out, its organizers pick a smorgasbord of music from different eras, but modern music, Lindsay says, is treated carefully by audiences. "We've only commissioned one piece for it up here, and it was done in 2019 before the pandemic," he said. "It was more niche, and there were people who liked it.